Okay, so now we're doing the beginning of a wedding. I've already started going through footage. This is an additive edit, so we're just going through available footage and sticking things into the timeline that we may want to use. So we have before here some detailed shots of the hall, and then we have guests mulling about and talking. Technically, these clips here were shot before the wedding formally began, but they will most likely work as filler shots for any point during cocktail hour where I want to show guests. As you'll see in a moment, there's going to be somewhat limited footage of that. So here we are, this is the clip I was up to, and this is the bride's entrance. This clip is 3 minutes long, almost 3 minutes long. We're not going to play the whole 3 minutes because the camera moves about in the middle, so we're just looking for the points where that I want to use. So I'm going to cut it right before the photographer walks into my way. And keep going. We'll look for the next point where there's something nice. Okay, we could get a close-up of the horn player. So right there. And beginning again right there. I'm walking with them, so this is a shaky shot. It's a little handheld, but Premiere's warp stabilizer may be able to handle that. And let's go over here. Okay, I'm actually not going to take that point where I pan around, so we'll stop right there, put that in. And then we'll go to the second angle. This is non-linear editing, so I may choose to put these things out of order. The song that's playing in the background is the traditional song always used at a Jewish wedding for the bride's entrance. So if you ever don't get a good recording of it at a specific wedding, you just take it from a different wedding. It's pretty much always the same song. And then at this point it's just back to other assorted B-roll. I let the camera roll so that I could get the music in the background. But we're looking for just people interacting with the bride, people interacting with the moms. Showing the crowd. I'm just adding these things to the timeline. I don't really care what order they're in just yet. Remember, a little bit of shake is okay. Too much shake has to go. That goes in. You don't have to do that. It's on her. Getting these people over here. Mom, grandma. These shaky clips I don't want. But once the camera stops shaking, hug and a kiss is always nice. And that's probably it for this clip. Okay, let's keep going. The rest of these clips are a little bit simpler, so I'm just going through the footage, scrubbing through it. Usually the first second or two is shaky and the last second or two is shaky because of pre-roll and post-roll. We'll go with those 3 seconds. This is a longer clip. And those few seconds right there will work. Now it's going to switch to the men's area. So we're just going to separate these clips so that I can keep track of where they are later. So right now, if you're following along here, we have prep clips over here, details and shots of the hall. Then we have guests talking and mulling about this section all over here. This is before the wedding started. We have the bride's entrance. Then we're going to have clips on the ladies' part of cocktail hour. And then we're going to have a section of clips of the men's part. And you're going to see I'm going to be going back and forth between the two sections. We are just going to organize it. Okay, that can really go as a detail shot, so now I'm adding it into that first section. Later on I'm going to color code these to make it a little easier. This is just a shot I love getting at a wedding, but someone pouring a shot always makes a good close-up and taking a drink. So, let's see what we have here. I don't know if there's anything there I want to use, so skip that clip. Just a shot of some guests. Shot of more guests. Again, that little bit of shake is something we're going to be able to fix in post. So it goes in too much shake, we skip it. A little bit of handshake is going to work just fine. Clip. It doesn't really matter now what's going on in these clips. Okay, this is getting the marriage contracts ready. So let's just see. Okay, we'll use that sort of putting the bag down and getting ready to take out the papers. That's the rabbi getting the marriage contracts ready. I'm going to get the groom wishing people well. Another person taking a shot. And there they go. That's the other end of that shot. So those two clips will definitely go together. People wishing well to the groom. Okay, we're going to keep going like this. Just choosing clips. Again, I'm not assembling them yet. I'm not putting them in any specific order. I'm just looking for things that may look nice. I may use all of them. I may choose to take some out. That kind of works. I'm singling out what's available to be used. So there's a shot of the marriage contract from the front. Okay, so this shot, where just the point where he's actually putting the paper down like that, that will pair well with that shot that we saw him getting ready to pull them out of the bag. So those two will be able to go together. And groom hugging a friend. A clip like this can actually be played in reverse and turned into a hug. So just an idea. Here we have just all the guests. A pan of the room, so it's another guest shot. It's going to make a good thing to cut to during the point where they're signing contracts and stuff. I don't necessarily care for that shot where the guy sits down, so we'll just go up till that point. They're reviewing the marriage contract, and here's a close-up of that. Getting Just going through the clips. No specific order yet. Perfect. This can be done pretty quickly. So here we have 2 shots in one, so I'm going to put that one in separately. We'll see if anything else happens here. Nothing else really happens for the remainder of that clip, so that's going to go out. I'm not quite sure what I was trying to shoot here, so we're going to skip it. Alright, that's one of the rabbis. Pan of the room. Great. The reason I don't choose now to put things in order is because, you know, there's 5 or 6 different pans of the room. I may need a few of them, but by going through them all first, I can sort of get a feel for what's available, and when it comes time for picking the actual shots in the final edit, I can pick out the absolute best shots. For example, here's another one of the papers being put down on the table. It could be this one will work better than the other one. So when we get to that point, just 2 people talking, that goes in. When we get to that point where we're dealing with the marriage contract, I'll decide which one of those shots, or maybe both, will work in the final edit. Alright, groom talking with someone, that's great. Groom talking with someone else, it's a teeny drop out of focus, but it's gonna go. Notice how I'm automatically cutting out the very beginning. The very beginning and the very end of a shot is usually a bit shaky. Just till you sort of get your hands back on the camera from pushing the record button, and then at the end there's a post-roll. So even on a usable shot, I never want that beginning shake. You want to start from the point where the shot is good and just stop a little bit before the end. It also gives me room to make a fade if needed. Transitions take up room. Alright, you can see the moms have come into this room over here. And that's going to be used soon. Here, witnesses are signing the marriage contract. Actually, not signing the marriage contract, but see, here's another angle of that same guy signing, so I may be able to use both. We'll see. Here's the next guy signing. And okay, now beginning here is this is reading the document where the parents, the two parties of the wedding, in this case the parents, agree to certain things regarding the wedding. They agree that everything has been paid for. It's technically a contract detailing the behind the scenes and the details of the wedding, and it may make a good narration for the point in the video where we just introduce the wedding and the details and those kind of things. We'll see. Some weddings it works, some weddings it doesn't. It's one of the ways that I can put things together. It's traditionally done just a little bit before the main ceremony, but it actually doesn't matter where this reading, those 2 men just signed this document followed by reading. It doesn't matter where in the final timeline this ends up, although typically it's done one of the last things before the main ceremony, so we will usually stick it there even if it did happen a little bit earlier, and we'll play around with it soon, and we'll see how we're going to put it together. As long as I didn't really move the camera during it, which in this case I did, we can just single out the whole thing for use. And you're looking for that word aid. The word aid means witness, and that's the last line. So from the intro sentence to the last sentence, we're going to stick the whole thing in. And then the next thing that's going to happen is the moms are going to break this plate. Right? And of course that we're going to put in. And then there's typically singing afterwards. So you see I let the camera roll, but I'm not going to use anything. Well, we got so that's an important shot. And now we'll get some clapping over here. See what else we could get. This guy here. See, I always play the clip to the end. You never know what you're gonna get there. Okay, so now because I had moved the camera in the middle, so one of the things I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find that point where I moved the camera. And I'm just gonna cut out not the video, not the audio, but I am gonna cut out that video segment, and that's sort of a note to myself for later that something else has to go in there. So that would be a great spot to just put, I had a certain clip in mind. That would be a great spot for one of these shots. You know, where you're just seeing guests at a table, can go right in there and you fill in the gap without messing with the audio. Another thing is that we don't necessarily need to put this entire thing. This guy read it pretty quickly. It's a long document and sometimes they read it pretty slow, and very often in an edit I will just use the first few moments, then let music take over this guy's voice and sort of, I guess we'll call it artificial time lapse, and just sort of skip time travel, skip to the end of it, and just show the end of it. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You want to show the fact that it happened. You definitely want to show the signing of it, the breaking of the plate, and the reading of it. You don't necessarily need to show every second of that event happening. Now let's keep going. A few more things happened at this wedding before the main ceremony began. So that original document was a contract between the parents agreeing on the details of the wedding, and this is the actual Jewish marriage contract. Here's a shot of the guests. Just B-roll shot. Here is the rabbi. He's preparing that document, so it's just a wide-angle shot for these. And in the edit, we'll put those together. Remember, I'm shooting with one camera here, but my goal is to imitate what might have happened with more than one camera. So I make a point when I'm shooting of getting events from multiple different angles, not necessarily in a row. There are times that I'll get a close-up and I'll come back a few minutes later and get the same event from a wide angle. As you see here, I got two close-ups. I got a medium here, a super close-up here, then I shot something else, and then I turned around and I got this wider shot. But all three of those clips will go together and will imitate what might have happened had there actually been two cameras shooting a wide and a close. So these are going to be the two witnesses to the actual marriage. So they're looking over the contract with the groom and the rabbi. Here the rabbi is discussing the contract with the groom. Here's a close-up. He's pointing to... So again, this clip and this clip are a medium and a tight of the same event. Here's a tight from a different angle. So that entire set of clips is going to go together. Here's a bunch of guests. They didn't actually do what I wanted them to do, so I'm going to skip that. Okay, this is an important part of the wedding. The groom, this is the Jewish equivalent of a handshake. The groom lifts a handkerchief. He's accepting on himself responsibility for everything that he has agreed to in the marriage contract. And now we're going to have the witnesses sign the marriage contract. So I started with a tight, and there's one witness, and there's the other witness. Notice how I go back and forth. In the final edit, I'll only use one of those. What do we have here? Okay, so just a walking shot. We're back in the ladies' side because we're getting ready for the beginning of the main ceremony. So I'm going to put this in the ladies section over here. This kind of shot may be able to be stabilized, and it's also possible that it won't, so it might be just a drop too shaky. But it looks like we have one or two more shots here just before the main ceremony begins. Okay, they're getting ready for the main ceremony to begin. The main ceremony at an Orthodox Jewish wedding begins actually with a first look. So at this point in the wedding, the bride and groom have not yet seen each other, at least not in their wedding gowns and suit. So here's a different angle of people greeting the bride. And this clip right here begins that first look, which is an extremely emotional part. You see the groom comes in and they see each other for the first time. If you look in the synced sequence, this event was actually shot with two cameras, not two camera operators, but I did have a stationary camera in the back. Getting this angle here. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it looks like it will end up being useful. Usually that camera's in 4K, so I don't know why it's shooting so tight, but okay. And the only other thing I'm going to check here is my stationary camera over here. So we got, okay, so I got a shot. I don't think that actually did what, oh, okay. So I had it rolling when the bride made her entrance, so that'll be good to know. Over here, I do have another angle if I want it, so I'm just giving myself a mental note of that. You know, I'm actually going to go and stick that in. So I guess beginning here where you could see the bride coming in. Alright, we'll stick that in there. And the rest of it here I don't need for anything. And this all is from later on. Let's see what we have in here. This camera here. Okay, so this is that second view. Okay. At this point, I've completed going through all the footage up until the ceremony begins. The next step's going to be beginning to assemble this. The main ceremony we're going to deal with separately because it works with a different style of editing. And in the next video, we're going to go through how I assemble this. There's no one right way for every wedding, but you'll hear me do it live for this wedding. I'll try to explain why I'm doing certain things, and hopefully you could pick something up from it.